For many years these lying satanic One West camps have been teaching a false doctrine of the 10 tribes according to 2nd Esdras. But even a white girl like myself, along with Stevie Wonder, can clearly see that the 10 tribe chart is a lie. We can clearly see the 10 tribes never came to the Americas during the Assyrian captivity. Plus the scripture says in the book of Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33. The Assyrians refused to let Israel go free. Let's read it. The book of Jeremiah 50 and 33. It says, "The children of Judah and Israel were oppressed together, all that took them captive, held them fast and refused to let them go." You see, it says they refused to let them go free from captivity. So if the Assyrians refused to let them go, then we know for sure, the Assyrians did not voluntarily give the 10 tribes their personal ships that they commissioned the Phoenicians to build. But let's now get the proper understanding of 2nd Esdras, and read the verses these camps used to validate their lies. 2nd Esdras chapter 13. And it reads, "Those are the 10 tribes, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land, in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river." The native Indians in America once traded by the Columbia River in the United States. The passage they traded at was called the Dalles. Let's read about it. Look what it says concerning the narrow passage as we read in 2nd Esdras. It says, "The Dalles was a narrow passage on the Columbia River. Tribes with different languages came from hundreds of miles to trade at the Dalles. The Columbia River was a highway on the northwest coast region. Native people traveled in wooden dugouts along the Columbia River to the Dalles. And keep in mind the Dalles was the narrow part of the Columbia River." It continues to say, "At the Dalles natives traded for what they needed." Here is an old picture of the Columbia River, the passage of the Dalles. And just like the narrow passage is called the Dalles in the Columbia River, where the Indians traded, in 2nd Esdras, the 10 tribes passed over or crossed over the Euphrates narrow parts of the river, from one side to the other. Remember, to pass over means from one side to the other, not in different directions. Let's continue. "For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over." Passing over does not mean traveling through more than one body of water, in different directions. Let's take a look at the definition of passed over when it comes to rivers like the Euphrates. And it says, "To pass from one side or area, physical or abstract, to another. To reach the other bank of the river." You see that, it means to pass from one side to the other, or cross over to the other side. That's exactly what the Jews within the 10 tribes did, they crossed the Euphrates from one side to the other. They did not go east in the Euphrates on small row ships, and continue east in the Persian Gulf, then head south in the Indian Ocean around East Africa, then around the tip of Africa, then head west in the Atlantic Ocean toward the Americas. That is not passing over, but 3 different directions of travel. 2nd Esdras clearly says they passed over. Traveling 3 different directions is not passing over. If a ship travel east, then head south, then head west, like these lying One West camps teach, that's not the meaning passing over. It's simply crossing over from one place to another place, not crossing over in more than one direction. If a basketball player passes the ball to another player, does the basketball travel in more than one direction? The answer is no. If an airplane passes over your house, do it pass over in more than one direction? Again, the answer is no. While at the dinner table, if one hand passes a dish of food to another hand, does that dish get pass in more than one direction? No, of course not. Just like the 10 tribes. They passed from one side to another, not in 3 different directions. That is not the definition of passing over or passed over. Use your brains. Let's continue. It says, "For through that country there was a great way to go, namely, of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. Then dwelt they there until the latter time. And now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay the springs of the stream again." This is clear. It says the same way the Hebrews crossed the Euphrates the first time is the same way they will cross the second time, because God will dry the river a second time. This time it was the rivers in Egypt. The Hebrews returned to Jerusalem from Africa through Egypt to keep the high holy days like Passover. Pontius Pilate verified this himself in his writings, that thousands of Jews came up from Africa to keep the Passover each year. Let's counting. It says, that they may go through. Therefore sowest thou the multitude with peace. But those that be left behind of thy people, are they that are found within my borders. This is the last clue. It says those that be left behind in God's borders. What is God's borders? It's His Jerusalem. Showing you the direction the 10 tribes traveled when they left Assyria. In order to get to Africa from Assyria, you had to go past what city? Jerusalem. Case closed. The 10 tribes did not take no row ships or small row boats to the Americas. They passed over the Euphrates and Tigris rivers and walked into Africa. These camps have been lying to you all these years, but now it's clear to see the truth.
Rasta got no rumors. Back where we do Rasta got no rumors them a spread, saying Rasta God is dead. But don't subscribe to them propaganda. Don't way. You can feel him in the whirlwind, riding on the cherubim, moving with lightning and with thunder. Well, yes, he who knows him can feel him, and he who feels him can see him. Yes, the omnipotent life giver, and Rastafari is the food of my salvation. Emmanuel will be with I forevermore. Mommy God, she will be the source of life's creation. Yeah, yeah. Blessing is so pure. Blessing is so pure. So with your lies and alibis, your blessing you try to disguise. Have my people gazing at the skies for something they just won't find. Now it's revelation time. Oh yes, my people rise and shine. Don't let them break into your mind with their cash on kind. Rastafari is the food of my salvation. Emmanuel will be with I forevermore. Mama Miga is the source of life's creation. Blessing is so pure. Blessing is so pure. If God gets beat in her face and stabbed in her side, that could not be King Selassie. Down round it and crucified. No sir, that couldn't happen to Rasta. Cause while I know others believe, and while I chant others deceive, the black monarchy ever lives, ever lives. Whoa, Rastafari is the food of my salvation. Yeah, yeah. Emmanuel with me, with I forevermore. Mommy God always be the source of life's creation. Yeah, yeah. Blessing is so pure. Blessing is so pure. Why? Rastafari is the food of my salvation. Yeah, yeah.